Thomas Lee Gudinas was executed on June 24, 2025, after spending over 3 decades on death row. His case had captured national attention due to the sheer brutality of the crime that led to his sentence. The execution took place at Florida State Prison in Stark, where Gudinas was administered a lethal injection. This marked the end of a long and grim chapter that began in the mid-1990s, one that had haunted not only the victim's family, but also the city of Orlando, which had been shaken by the violence of the crime. In this video, we will walk you through every chilling detail, from the horrific crime that sealed his fate, to the evidence presented at trial, his final hours on death row, the last meal he chose, and finally, the disturbing words he uttered just moments before his execution. The story is graphic, painful, and unforgettable, a reminder of the dark depths of human behavior and the slow, relentless course of justice. It all began on the night of May 21, 1994, when Orlando, Florida, became the scene of a violent act that would scar the city forever. That night, Michelle McGraw, a 22-year-old young woman, had gone out to enjoy herself at Barbarella's, a well-known downtown nightclub. By 2:45 a.m., witnesses reported seeing her leave the venue and head toward her parked vehicle. Tragically, that would be the last time anyone saw her alive. At around 7:30 a.m., just a few hours later, a school employee discovered her body in a nearby alley. The location was near a school, and what they found was nothing short of horrifying. Michelle's body was found stripped of nearly all clothing. She was naked except for her bra. The autopsy report later confirmed what police suspected. She had been sexually assaulted and subjected to extreme violence. The cause of death was a brain hemorrhage, resulting from a powerful blow to the head, most likely a kick. Even more horrifying was the discovery that foreign objects had been forcibly inserted into both her vaginal and rectal cavities. Her blood alcohol level was 0.17%, indicating she had been intoxicated. Despite that, the forensic examination revealed she had fought back fiercely, as shown by the defensive wounds on her hands and arms, a haunting testament to her struggle to survive. Police launched a rapid and aggressive investigation. It wasn't long before they identified a suspect, Thomas Lee Gudinas, a 20-year-old man with a violent streak. Witnesses began to come forward. Among them was Michelle Smith, another woman who had been at Barbarella's that same night. Smith testified that Gudinas had chased her to her car in the parking lot and had tried to force his way in while shouting sexually explicit threats. She managed to escape unharmed, but the terrifying experience stuck with her. When presented with a photo lineup, she immediately identified Gudinas, and she later confirmed her identification again in court. Further witness testimony placed Gudinas in the vicinity of the alley where McGrath's body was found. Some said they saw him with a set of keys, which were later confirmed to belong to the victim. When questioned, Gudinas falsely claimed the keys were his. But the forensic evidence proved devastating. Investigators found his fingerprints on McGrath's car, and DNA testing revealed that semen recovered from her body matched his profile. His own roommates dealt a final blow to his defense. They told investigators that he returned home early that morning with blood-stained clothes, visibly shaken. One of them later testified in court that Gudinas had confessed outright, saying, "I killed her. Then I expletive her." This chilling admission, combined with overwhelming physical evidence, led to his swift arrest. Due to the intense media coverage surrounding the case, authorities opted to move the trial to Collier County in hopes of ensuring a fair process. In 1995, the trial concluded with a guilty verdict, and Thomas Lee Gudinas was sentenced to death for the heinous rape and murder of Michelle McGraw. What followed were years of appeals and legal proceedings, but ultimately, justice caught up with him. Thomas Lee Gudinas was executed on June 24, 2025, bringing an end to one of Florida's most haunting criminal cases. After spending more than 30 years on death row, Gudinas' life was ultimately taken by lethal injection at Florida State Prison in Stark. The execution followed a decades-long legal saga that began in the early 1990s with a brutal crime that shook the city of Orlando to its core and gained nationwide attention. The horrifying nature of the act, combined with a trial full of disturbing evidence and emotional testimonies, ensured that Gudinas' name would forever be associated with one of the most violent acts in the city's modern history. In this video, we will walk you through the entire timeline, from the gruesome details of the crime to the trial, his final day, and the haunting last words he reportedly spoke before he died. The tragic story began on the night of May 21st, 1994, when 22-year-old Michelle McGraw was enjoying a night out with friends at Barbarella's, a downtown Orlando nightclub. At around 2:45 a.m., she was seen leaving the venue and heading toward her car. That would be the last time she was seen alive. Just a few hours later, around 7:30 a.m., her lifeless body was discovered by a school employee in a nearby alley. What followed was a revelation of brutality that deeply disturbed law enforcement and the public alike. Michelle was found naked, wearing only her bra, with unmistakable signs of sexual assault and extreme violence. The autopsy confirmed that she died from a brain hemorrhage caused by a powerful blow to the head, likely a kick. Even more horrifying was the medical examiner's discovery of foreign objects forcibly inserted into both her vaginal and rectal cavities. Her blood alcohol level was registered at 0.17%, but what stood out most was the clear evidence that she had fought desperately for her life, as shown by defensive wounds on her hands and arms. The investigation progressed swiftly. Multiple witnesses came forward with chilling stories, and it didn't take long for suspicion to fall on Thomas Gudinas, then only 20 years old. Among the key witnesses was Michelle Smith, another woman, who had been at Barbarella's that same night. She testified that Gudinas had followed her to her car, shouting explicit sexual threats, and attempted to force his way inside. She managed to escape, and later, with full confidence, identified Gudinas in a photo lineup and again at trial. Additional witness reports placed Gudinas near the alley where McGrath's body was found. Some even claimed to have seen him with a set of keys belonging to McGraw, keys he falsely claimed were his. The forensic evidence only strengthened the case. Gudinas' fingerprints were recovered from Michelle's car, and DNA testing confirmed that the semen found in her body matched his. On top of that, his roommates testified that he returned home that morning covered in blood and chillingly confessed, saying, "I killed her, then I expletive her." Due to the intense media coverage, the trial was relocated to Collier County to ensure fairness. In 1995, Gudinas was convicted of first-degree murder, 2 counts of sexual battery, attempted sexual battery, and attempted robbery with assault. The jury recommended the death penalty by a 10-2 vote, and the judge imposed the sentence on June 16, 1995. During the trial, the defense attempted to present a portrait of a deeply troubled individual. They introduced evidence of Gudinas' traumatic childhood, marked by years of physical, emotional, and sexual abuse inflicted by family members and caregivers. Mental health experts testified that he had been diagnosed with multiple psychiatric disorders, had an exceptionally low IQ, and had cycled through 105 institutions during his youth without ever receiving consistent care. According to professionals, he had a severely impaired ability to regulate his behavior, especially when under the influence of alcohol or drugs, both of which he had consumed on the night of the crime. Still, the court ultimately ruled that the aggravating circumstances outweighed any mitigating factors. In one particularly disturbing moment, Gudinas was asked whether he had sex with the victim post-mortem, to which he admitted, later claiming it was just a joke and expressing remorse to the victim's family. He acknowledged saying to the police, "Yeah, I killed her then," double quotes, and confirmed it again during questioning. Over the years, Gudinas filed numerous appeals, arguing everything from ineffective counsel to mental illness and procedural errors, but all were rejected by both state and federal courts. His final legal team even appealed to the Florida Supreme court, arguing that executing a man with such profound mental illness would violate evolving societal standards of decency. They insisted that the death penalty, in this case, would serve no deterrent effect, but would merely be an act of state-sanctioned vengeance. Among those who continued to believe in his innocence was his aunt, Judith Gudinas, who told reporters that he had found God in prison and even kept a newspaper photo of Michelle McGraw tucked inside his Bible. Despite this, Michelle's loved ones viewed these appeals as little more than procedural stalling. Most of them chose not to attend the execution, preferring to avoid reopening emotional wounds. They admitted the execution brought no true closure, but it did finally end the annual calls and letters they received from the state, which reopened old trauma each year. On May 23, 2025, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed the official execution warrant for Thomas Lee Gudinas. The date was set for June 24th, and Gudinas, now aged 51, would become the 7th person executed in Florida in 2025, and the 24th execution carried out in the United States that year. On the morning of Tuesday, June 24th, Gudinas woke up at 4:45 a.m. He spent time with his mother, who visited him, but declined to meet with any spiritual advisor. For his final meal, he requested something simple: pepperoni pizza, French fries, and a soft drink. Later that day, at exactly 6 p.m., the curtain to the execution chamber was opened. Witnesses saw Gudinas already strapped to a gurney and inserted into his left arm. After a final phone call with the governor's office, the warden asked if he had any last words. Though what he said was inaudible to those in the viewing room, officials later confirmed he expressed remorse and spoke about Jesus. As the lethal injection began, Gudinas' eyes rolled back, and his chest moved slightly as his body underwent mild convulsions. Within minutes, his skin turned pale, his movement stopped, and he lay completely still. At 6:23 p.m., the warden officially declared his death. The curtains were drawn, and the witnesses escorted out. With that, Thomas Lee Gudinas was gone, a man whose name would remain forever linked to one of Florida's darkest crimes. Thank you for watching this in-depth episode of Criminal Records. If you're interested in more real-life criminal case breakdowns, including executions, forensic evidence, and courtroom drama, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the end screen to explore more.